Good afternoon and welcome to the Lit Gals. Happy October. It is officially fall now. We find ourselves in the land of all things pumpkin and orange and leaves and apple cider, my favorite. Hi, I am Martie Hoofer. I am the digital content manager at Keep Indiana Learning and one of the 3 Lit Gals, and I'm happy to welcome you to our October edition today. April. So my favorite thing about fall is apple cider, and I'm a big fan of leaves. So April, what is your favorite thing about fall? And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, I'm April Long. I teach virtually for Indiana Online Academy, grades 7 through 11. And my favorite thing about fall is cozy, comfy clothes, layers and sweaters and jackets and always getting to be warmer. Yes, and I'm excited today to talk about Spooky Month. Before we hand it over to Anna, because I really feel like my entryway into reading solitary books by myself was R.L. Stein. And I can just remember piles of books. My sister and I shared a bedroom growing up, and sitting on the floor with her and reading Goosebumps together, graduating up to Fear Street, which was scarier, but it felt like she and I were doing this kind of like scary thing together. And it felt just like a little bit too old for me. So I wanted to keep doing it, you know, and I don't watch scary movies now. I'm not a fan really, but when I was younger, reading his books just so quickly was really, I think one of the first memories I have of reading books on my own and wanting to read more of one author. So that's kind of where we're headed today. Anna, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us what you love about fall and scary.
Yes, fall is my favorite. It's my favorite. I love fall. Oh my goodness. Everything about fall I love. And especially since the summer was so hot, you know. So fall I love. So, but my favorite thing in the fall is truly just getting in the car and driving and looking at the leaves. Oh, that is so, you know what I mean? For me, that is zen. It is wonderful. And so, yeah, I love doing that. So, yeah, I love looking at the leaves.
Love it.
It's really interesting, April, that you were talking about not really loving spooky, scary, creepy stories. I don't either. I mean that it really isn't one of my favorites. But it was very interesting. I started thinking about that when we talked about our topic. And I thought the first one that I actually read and listened to, etc., was Edgar Allan Poe. And it wasn't until high school. Now, I realize that I'm a lot older than you guys are. So, I mean, we're talking early 80s, okay, that I was in the high school. But it was not even thought about to even talk about Edgar Allan Poe until you were in high school. Now, both of you teach middle and high. Are you already doing Poe?
Oh, absolutely. 7th grade. Yeah. One of my students, probably one of my students' favorite poems was Annabelle Lee. And I mean, that's not as creepy as Poe gets.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a very creepy element to Annabelle Lee, and my students as 7th graders ate it up. What about yours, April?
Telltale Heart, and they just love it. Like it's just right on that edge of creepy, but like not too detailed yet. So you've got this scary eye, and you're burying this guy under the floorboards, and it kind of takes them a minute to get it. There's a little bit of like, do you get the ending? And
that's exactly, April, that's exactly what I learned about Poe And that is that he's almost on the edge, right?
Mhm.
And the thing that I remember, now think about this, you guys, it was 11th grade. 11th grade, that was the first time. And I loved what my teacher did. And that was she read The Raven and then we unpacked it, because exactly what the two of you have said is, you have to think about what he might be thinking about, and it's right on the ragged edge, right? And so she did that so beautifully with The Raven. So I can't read the whole Raven. That would take the whole entire time, but I would love to read the first stanza if you don't mind.
We'd love it.
Yes.
The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more."
I love it.
I love it.
You read that so well.
I love it. So what she did, like I said, is then we just started unpacking the stanzas, and we had good conversation, but that was our intro to Edgar Allan Poe. And so when we started reading the short story, Told How Heart, we were all like, "Oh yeah, yay, we can't wait."
Mhm.
But wasn't that a great idea, you guys?
Yes.
To start it like that.
And so many lit devices to unpack as well from the teacher's side, such great repetition and rhyme and like little devices that you can throw in there with the what's happening. Makes it a great poem.
And I went to Boston this summer, and there was a huge statue of Edgar Allan Poe. And I did not realize this, but he died destitute. I think that he was even, homeless. He lived on the street.
And they really don't know, right? It's still kind of a mystery, like what happened to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I would often, with my students, we would learn about the author as well as their work. And so when we would talk about Poe's life, they had so many questions, and I would always be like, and I have no answers for you. And especially as we talked about Annabelle Lee, they want, because he had some interesting marriage choices in his own life, and there's the whole interesting marriage in Annabelle Lee. And I'm like, guys, I don't know. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old. I don't know. So yeah, there's so much great stuff.
So good. But when we talked about the topic, I thought, Edgar Allan Poe, it's got to be, because like you, I don't get into spooky, scary type of things, but boy, I'll read Edgar Allan Poe. Isn't that something? Yeah.
And I'm the same way. I am not a fan of scary movies. I don't like people jumping out at corners around at me. Nope, nothing scary. So I'll be honest with you. When we had this topic, I was like, what am I going to talk about? But I could talk about Poe because I do really love him. But as I decided to wrap my brain around, okay, yes, you do know something about scary books. I thought of two instantly. This is probably one of the few times on the Lit Gals I'm going to talk about a book I did not read, but Lovely Bones. This was a book by Alice Sebold that I read the opening paragraph of and literally could go no further. And I know it's been made into a movie. It just was not for me. And so I checked this out, and it was years ago that I had this realization that it was not for me. I don't know when this book was published. I don't see it right here handy. Oh, 2002.
Early 2000? I was going to say early 2000s. Yeah.
And I probably picked it up, I don't know, probably somewhere around 2003, 2004, and couldn't do it. So then today I opened it back up and I'm like, let's see if I could get past the first paragraph today. Nope, still can't get past the first paragraph. So for whatever reason, I find this book creepy. It's just not for me. But a creepy book I did read that my middle schoolers love. And anytime that middle schoolers just love creepy things, R.L. Stine, he was always a great recommend. But this book, Full Tilt.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Looks creepy, by Neal Schusterman. And I never recommended this to a kid that they didn't come back to me and say, man, that is some messed up stuff. But it's middle. I probably wouldn't hand it to a 6th grader, but I felt fine recommending it to my 7th graders. But it was so creepy that I could not read it at nighttime because it messed with my dreams too much. And then so finally, but I was so invested in the story that I was like, I got to know what happens. So I would read it during my lunch break at school because the daytime I could handle it.
Yeah.
But about this 16-year-old guy and some friends that get trapped in a amusement park that has some weird stuff going on. And every chapter of the book is a different ride that he encounters. It's good.
Yeah.
It messed with me. So when I think creepy book, this is always the book I go to. So it's probably the only one I've ever finished beginning to end.
And if people really like amusement parks and stuff like that and rides, I can see where they'd be like, yeah, let's read this one.
Absolutely. So it's I had forgotten the detail, but it does say here on the back, he has to survive 7 deadly rides by dawn. So this entire book takes place from like sunset to sunrise, and it reads really, really fast. So it's something. Full Tilt by Neal Schusterman is my creepy book recommend. So there you go.
It sounds creepy.
Yes.
I will say too, for people that love scary stories, that recommendation of not being able to read Lovely Bones is going to be a great recommendation for them if they haven't read it, because they'll say, oh, I love the scary.
Yeah. So that's true. I guess my non-recommendation is a recommendation.
Is a great recommendation. Yeah.
Well,
I decided to go the short story route. So I've got the titles of quite a few that I actually teach all of these. And I wanted to share kind of how I came upon this idea. And I can't remember, ladies, when we picked our topics, but I had this tweet saved from back in July, and it's so funny. I do not know who this woman is at M-Clatt, but I put it in my bookmarks and remembered it when I was looking for scary stories, because I teach a unit called Tales of Danger, and I teach another unit where they have like a scary story tilt. So I always save anything that has book recommendations. And her tweet says, I can't wait to become a high school English teacher and assign my students a short story so unsettling that it will haunt them for the rest of their lives. And the whole thread is people sharing the scary story that they read in high school that they cannot get over.
I love that.
Right? And so I was like, oh, I have to. And looking through it, I was like, oh yeah, I teach a lot of these, and some of them I wouldn't have considered scary. And then you think about it again, and it is creepy. It is creepy. So I think the number one recommendation in that thread was The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. So I won't give away any endings of any of these. They're all scary for different reasons, but The Lottery and even, The Scarlet Ibis, a couple of these are like scary because it's what the worst of humanity could be. So it's not a jumping out, creepy, scary. The students, even when we read The Scarlet Ibis, there's nothing particularly scary about it, except that you're in the main character's head as an older adult, and he's remembering a childhood incident with his brother. And the whole time it's sort of like, I can't believe I was capable of that.
Mhm.
And then the students are thinking, that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are kind of some like humanities scary ones, which if you have not read The Lottery, woo, buddy, twist at the end that will really creep you out. The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell, which is actually scary. Just a very scary read about kind of being trapped on an island. And The Landlady is also scary. Roald Dahl in a way that
I love him.
Female protagonist who you wouldn't think is creepy and you wouldn't think is dangerous. But again, you get to the end and the landlady has some secrets. And then the last one I put on there is called August Heat. And that was new to me last year. I actually asked a friend who works in curriculum for any suggestions on some tales of danger to add into my list. And she gave me August Heat. And it's sort of a dueling perspective of like something creepy happens and you've got this one guy's sort of side of and recollection and another guy's recollection. And then they meet up at the end and you don't know what happens. And so it's a great one to have student perspective and prediction. And can you go back and tell me why you think that guy from the text, use textual evidence, but it's also just a good creepy read. So all creepy for different reasons, but, great for students because it can really hook them in if there's going to be a twist or there's going to be something interesting.
Yeah. I was thinking about your short stories. One that I loved to teach was called Lamb to the Slaughter. And just something you don't see coming, that twist. And I was always very intentional with students when I gave them copies of it to not give them where I didn't want them to read past that.
I love that.
Read ahead. I needed them to not do that because I often read it in 2 class periods. And then I would, the early morning classes, don't you say a word to, my kids later in the day because that's something I love about short stories is you get those sudden twists. And even in Poe does that.
Poe did tons of short stories like that.
So maybe we should do a whole episode sometime on short stories. Love it. Write that down as idea because that's there's so many good ones and they're so great in the classroom because it makes a whole story accessible quickly. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know how we are about out of time, just like always. Just a quick little thing I saw at my library. This thing called a book page. It's a tiny little magazine, free. It's 30 pages, and this month happens to be 20 Halloween reads to send shivers down your spine. So I'm like, ooh, that was perfect. So I don't know, take a look at your local library. Mine was sitting right by the door with like the Nouveau newspaper and those little like free things you can pick up. So full of book recommends as well as this month, 20 Halloween reads, which probably I'm going to read 0 of because I just don't like scary. And ladies, I almost forgot. What are you reading or listening to right now?
I'm finishing up a couple baby books, reading Baby Wise to try to know how to get my baby to sleep here in the next couple months. But the fiction that I just started is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. That's the title for my book club. I love it. I'm only 60 pages in. It's so long. I just want to keep reading it. So I will report back at some point, but it is great so far. Kind of time travel-y, and it starts out like in the 80s. It's like talking about Super Mario Brothers and cool stuff that I remember. So
fun. Good. I am revisiting Simon Sinek's The Why.
Mm.
Oh,
So it kind of piggybacks on the blog that I wrote for Keep Indiana Learning.
mhm.
And I am starting all of my professional learning sessions with why.
Mhm.
Why are we doing this? But with those that I am with a lot, I thought, I've got to expand upon this a little bit more. So I'm rereading it to get some, good ideas so that I can implement or talk about them with my groups that I visit a lot. So,
Love it. And I am reading a book called Wild Tongues Cannot Be Tamed. It is an anthology of sorts. I found it on a Hispanic Heritage Month list. And so it's all male and female Latino writers from across the diaspora. And it's been fascinating. Some of the pieces are fiction, some of the pieces are nonfiction. You just never know what you're going to get as you start the next chapter.
Cool.
And it's authors that many readers will know from a variety of different things, but it's also exposed me to some new authors, which I appreciated. But there are some of the chapters that I could definitely see using in a middle or high school classroom as you look at personal narratives, as you look at writing memoirs. It's just been really powerful to learn more because it's I've thought about things I had never thought about before, which is part of the purpose of reading. So Wild Tongues.
Great title.
Yeah, Wild Tongues Cannot Be Tamed.
Yeah.
It comes from one of the very early essays.
Intriguing.
Yeah, loved it. All right, ladies. Well, once again, we are out of time. We could talk all day, but time is now up. So thank you, viewers, for joining us. Next month, we will be back with a guest because April is going to be busy with a brand new baby, which is super exciting. So we'll be excited with you from afar, April.
Yes, and I will be with you.
Perfect. And so we will see you next month. We're going to talk about holiday gift-giving books, which holiday feels very far away, but by the time we get to the middle of November,
very close.
It won't be far away. So holiday gift-giving next month. And so thank you for joining us on the Lit Gals, and we will see you in November.
Thank you.
Bye.